Welcome back to Arc Tutorials. In the previous episode, you learned how to write your first React component. Today, we are going to start building something real by putting together a layout by writing our components. You will see that in real-time project when you start working, a page is made up of multiple smaller components, which is what we will do today in today's episode. This is part 9 of the series. If you have missed out on the first 8 parts, I'll request you to kindly go through them because whatever we are doing today is an addition of all the things that we have learned in till episode 8, and hence it will only make sense if you have followed them. That being said, what are we going to build today? We are going to enhance our page, make it look more professional, start building it towards our project, which is Arc Credit Card Bank. For that, we will need few components to build our page, namely header, footer, main content, sidebar maybe, and menu. Right? So these are some of the things that we will build our page with. Let's get started. Today it's only hands-on coding, so let's talking more coding. While I'm bringing it up, please do hit that like button for me to keep encouraging me. Alright, so close everything else, close your terminal, everything for now, just clear it, everything. I'll keep the notes open just in case if I make any notes today. Today we are learning layout building with components. Exciting episode because today you will implement whatever you have learned so far, right? All right, so what I want you to do, if you're comfortable, you go ahead, delete this my button component that we implemented in the last episode. You don't need that anymore. Now you know how to use it. I'm going to delete it so that we will start building real components. So I'm going to empty my app entirely. Okay, so my return is empty. This is how it looks when you don't have anything. Clean up your app, just make it empty, so we'll start from fresh. Alright, so that's all I have done. I have emptied my app.js completely. I've deleted the previously written my button also because now we are going to start afresh. Okay, alright, let's get started. The first thing that you will need, right, in your app will be, let's say, a structure, right? So let's decide on the structure. So I'm going to say our application will need a header. Our application will need a main content. Okay, I'm going to say our application is going to need a footer. So first decide on the structure of the page. Okay, I'm saying these are the main things that I need, and then we'll work backwards. Okay, right now I'm saying I will build these components. So let's go ahead and create a new file inside the source and call it header.js. Have one more file, let's call it main content.js. Let's have one more and let's call it footer.js. So I have my 3 files ready to start implementing. So I'll write my component. First is to write export default function header, and we will write return, and we know that return can have only one parent one, right? One root element. So what I'm going to use, if you had followed this series, we implemented the bootstrap in our application. If you see here bootstrap.css in index.js, I'm also going to bring JS into picture, or we can go dist slash slash bootstrap.js. Alright, so now I have added bootstrap.js also in my index. So now I can go to get bootstrap.com, and inside the docs let's go and search for head or navbar. Okay, we get the navbar. There are a lot of examples of which you want to use. There are many examples that we can just use as it is. What I'm going to use is a basic one. So what you can do, just click on this, click to copy board, and go to our component code, and paste it there. Alright, so now what we have done, we have just added the markup inside our, so let's format it a little bit and make it structured. And let's check export default. There is, I have closed that, that is correct. And we will need to check why this is coming up. The input has no corresponding closing tags because it is strict, so you need to make sure that it is strictly closed. Similarly, HR tag needs to be closed. It is more I would say strict in terms of how you can close it. Okay, so let's format this little bit. So what I've done, I've just copied the code as it is, nothing crazy here. You can do that from getbootstrap.com. Copy the code as it is from here. Okay, this is free of cost. Open that URL. If you don't want, if you want a simple header, you can do that just as well. You don't need all this code. You don't need all this code. For now you can just even add this, and that is also fine, totally fine. If you just want to add this and say this is header, this is also perfectly fine. Okay, as part of this learning, but to make sure that it's much better looking, since we are already using Bootstrap, I am copying that code. If you don't want to do that, just write this code, that is also fine. I'll show you with this first and then the other one. So I have just included the header. We need to include the header and add it here, and now start our application, npm start. Alright, so we got our application. Now it is saying this is header, right? This is the header of the page, but you want to make it look more beautiful, more elegant. So I'm going to copy this code again from here in the headers navbar and copy it here, paste. If you see this error which says it doesn't have closing, you need to add the closing tag for JSX. Okay, same thing for the HR tag. Add the closing tag. Alrighty, so this looks good and done. Now let's go ahead and see our application. Now you can see that we got the header for our application automatically. Alright, so that's the first step, but I would like to go with a darker theme, so I'm going to use this PG dark, and that's what will add the dark background. Let's go back to our application, refresh. Alright, let's just check if I have added PG body. Let's just keep it to PG body and expand. It's still not showing. It should be ideally. Let's see what is the class missing. PG navbar, navbar expand LG, that's fine. Okay, let me restart the application. That is because of this edge ref tags that is there. Okay, so for some reason it's not applying the BG dark. Okay, we need to add this also, the theme, and let's see now. Okay, so there we have the dark color. Alright, so we have got the header sorted. Now same way, let's go ahead and create a new component called footer. So same thing we'll do, export default function capital F, and then you will write the return brackets, and then inside this we will write our markup, so we can copy any mark. I'm going to keep it simple in this one. This is, I'll say copyright arc credit card bank T23. Alright, so we got our footer implemented. now let's go ahead to app.js, include the footer and close this. Right, so now it says footer. From footer we imported, but looks like there is a parse error in the JS. Let's see what is the error. I don't think that's the problem. We got this here. We are closing the div. This is perfect fine. And let's check here. We got the header, we got the footer, and okay, the reason is because I told you that return cannot have the two returns, right? It has to be wrapped around a root element. So I'm going to call it class container, and there you have. Now we have all our things, and now we have our header and we have our footer. Okay, but ideally the footer should be at the bottom, so we can style that also, and we can go to our footer and class equal to footer. So now we will need a CSS, so I'm going to show you that example. So for footer.js, same way I have added footer.css, and in this I'm going to say bottom pixel. Okay, and in the footer.js I'm going to import my footer.css, or you can just say import slash footer CSS. Alright, let's see, it didn't reflect yet, so let's go ahead and fix that. So now I have my footer. Same way, just like we have app.css, same way we will have app.js. So in this dot slash footer spelling, that's correct, and we are using the footer class, that's correct. Maybe class equal to footer, and here, one second, let's check that CSS. So this is correct. Let's rebuild once. Alright, so I'm trying to include the CSS for the footer. Let's see if it added. Okay, so it is adding the footer. Maybe that's because we did not give the position. So here I'm going to give, let's say, static, and see if that works. No, so instead we can give something like a absolute value. Okay, so now it is at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it at the bottom, but it has come here, you can see. So that is positioning, basically how we want it. And if we want to extend our, make it 100%, I'm going to use container fluid, so this will become 100%. The footer is here at the bottom. Now in between I want the main area, so let's go ahead, create that component as well. Default function main content, and in this return, and here we are going to return a list of articles, let's say. Okay, so for that I'm going to use a list, and just basic or say cards, right? That would be a good example. Card example. So I'm going to use this cards example. You can search for cards and you can come down, you'll see multiple cards which are aligned like this, so you can just copy them as it is. The reason I'm copying is because, for simple reason, that it's easy for you to just copy and see some beautiful output. Okay, rather than you typing all these things, you can just take it from Bootstrap, because all of us can access that and it's easy for you to navigate. So we have the main content. Let's go to main.js, in between this tag main content, and add it and compile it. Alright, so now we added our header, we added main content, we added footer, and let's see our page. So it says style prop expects some mapping from style properties. Okay, so looks like they are using some style, okay, like this. So for now we will delete all of that, okay, and replace them with all, replace all. Okay, so now it's compiled successfully and I see the list of details added, right? So now I think I can remove the footer absolute and bottom. It will anyway be coming at the bottom now, right? So you can see here we have got the footer, we have got our cards aligned, right? Now we can also add some more styling to these, and I can say a class equal to row, and I'll build a row, and what I'll do is I'll take this card. I'm just making it more look pretty, but so far I think our what we wanted to achieve is done, which is basically arranging of cards. Alright, so we got this sorted. Now we have this div. I'm going to delete these and instead have my div closing here. So now I have my row, I have my column, so I'm going to loop it 3 times or 4 times, so that way I get it in a grid. Now similarly I can have it this row, I can copy it and paste it multiple times, so that way I'll have 3 rows and I have my footer, I have this. Now I want some gap from the top, so I'm going to say main content in the class, and I'm going to create a CSS for it, and I'm going to say main content dot CSS, and here I'm going to say in the CSS dot main content padding, or say margin from top 30 pixel, and let's see if this got added. This got added. Now let's increase that number and see how it looks. It's not adding any value, but let's see if that applied. We have the main content, it did not apply that, so let's check if it loads now. Okay, it didn't load, so let's try padding and see if that makes a difference. It's not making any. Let's check the name, main content, it's here, and we have the main content name correct, and then we can say, let's see if that is because of, so it's not adding the um, padding top, but I think we can fix that. Just give me a minute. So this is here, navbar is here, and then main content. So if I add margin hyphen top 30 pixel, it should move like this. So we need to add the margin hyphen top to the CSS, but that's what I'm trying to. Oh, because we did not include it in here. See, the oftentimes the mistakes that we make are very minute, but yeah, that's what life is as part of programming. Alright, so if you see here now, if I refresh, it is coming more because we have given 100 pixel, 30 pixel is fine. So now it's aligned correctly. Now I don't like the blue color card, so we can replace the text BG primary, right, and replace them, so we just have the white color cards. Right, now these will be our credit cards that we will list down of different companies, right? So this is the first. We have the main content, we have the header, we have the footer, all of it ready. Now this, when you're working on real-time project, this is how you start building the layout, the project, etc. In the next episode, I think enough for today, it's too much work for you as a beginner, but worry not. In the next episode we are going to loop these values. Right now if you look at our code, this is messy because we have repeated the row and the cards manually, and we have written the markup, right? So in the next episode we are going to make it dynamic. We'll create an object array of object, and then we will loop them and print those values. So that way it becomes more dynamic, right? I hope you're enjoying. We are getting there to start building a real-time project. You just need to hang in there. Don't give up. I am here to help you, and this is one beautiful project we will build together. Hit that like button for me and join me in the next episode. We will learn how to use loops inside the component to recursively display that data. Thank you so much for joining. See you in the next episode.